Hello everybody, my name is Natalia Leigh and I'm the author of the young adult novels Highborn and Way of Spears, and today I am joining you for another tea time episode because this morning I finished the first round of annotations for Song of the Dryad, and I just want to chat with you about how I feel and what my goals are moving forward. So let's go ahead and get started. So my original goal was to finish the annotations for Song of the Dryad by the end of October, but I didn't actually end up hitting that goal, unfortunately. I think I received my proof copy on like the 12th, I want to say. So I did have a few weeks to annotate, but this proof copy is 475 pages long, so there was a lot to go through here. And in October, I was feeling super motivated, like I was working so hard on so many things and I was doing really well. And then November hit and I got a bunch of new pet sitting clients, and I was working really hard with my pet sitting clients, which meant I was not getting up in the morning and going into my office and working on Song of the Dryad. So everything was kind of crumbling and falling apart, unfortunately. But today is Friday, November 17th. And just this morning, I finally finished annotations. So 17 days late, but that's okay because they are finished. So I did find that there weren't many plot holes, which is awesome. Because I outlined so tediously, I spent so much time planning and plotting this version of Song of the Dryad that I wasn't surprised to find that there weren't any large plot holes that needed to be filled in. What I did find was that I was lacking descriptive language and imagery in a lot of scenes. Like, I was surprised by it, and I think part of the reason for that was, number one, I had an idea of the settings that I was talking about, but I didn't have them completely fleshed out in my mind. So because I couldn't see them clearly, I wasn't able to write them very vividly. But at this point, I can see everything with much more clarity and I understand the setting that I'm working with, so I'm going to be able to write the descriptions of the places in this book with much more clarity, like I said, because I can actually see them now. And then the other thing I realized was that I really need to draw a map. There are many scenes in this novel that take place in a very large forest. And if you're somebody that has grown up, hiking and camping and being in the woods, then you'll know that it can be incredibly easy to get lost. And personally, I always like to use landmarks to kind of remember where I'm at and where I have been when I'm in the woods or hiking or camping. And what I need to do is actually draw out a map of the woods in this book and kind of like sketch in a bunch of landmarks so that not only do my characters know where they are because of those landmarks, but my readers will also be able to say, oh, I remember this portion of the forest and I remember what happened here because, this formation of boulders was mentioned, or this tree that got struck by lightning was mentioned. So the readers will actually be able to remember the areas of the forest and what has gone on there, versus just constantly being told like, oh, there's trees and there's leaves everywhere and they're hiking. Like, the way it is now, it's just endless trees, just endless. Like, you don't really know where in the forest you are, and I want to change that. So I really, really want to sketch up a map of the woods, put in those landmarks so that I can remember where the characters are and the readers can as well. And then I also want to sketch up a basic map of the city that this takes place in. It's a small mountain town. It's an imaginary mountain town, and I named some of the streets where things are taking place, and I talked about like the different storefronts and where they're located and where the houses are located. But I really want to sketch out a map so that I can see it very clearly, and then that way when I'm writing about it, everything is concise and makes a lot more sense. Because I don't want to mention that this business is on Main Street and then accidentally change it later on and say, oh, this business was actually in like the square, in like the city center. So I want to make sure that all of that is really nailed down And I think a map will help me a lot with that. It's not a problem, but the other thing I really need to focus in on and like hone in on is the way that magic works within my book. Because, you know, this book has to do with fairies and the other, I guess you could say. And there's magic in it, and there are different realms. And I had many different ideas about how I wanted magic to work and the rules that I wanted my magic system to follow. But it has taken reading back through my work and like picking out the things that I really like and the things that I don't think work so well to kind of settle in on a really concise system of how this magic works. So as I am going back through this novel and actually revising it now on Scrivener, I'm going to need to make sure that every time fairy magic is mentioned, it is following the guidelines and the rules that I have set out for it. Now it is November, so like I said in my previous videos, I was going to do NaNoWriMo and I did start it. But since I did my Nano update video, which was I think a week ago or so, I haven't actually worked on my outline, unfortunately, because I was going to write a new novel and then I was specifically working on the outline for Song of the Dryad Book 2, but then I kind of fell off of doing that because I really wanted to focus my attention on Song of the Dryad. And I do believe that rather than jumping back and forth between the two of them, for now I really just want to focus on Song of the Dryad, because the more I take my focus away from this project and put it in another project, the longer it's going to take to really get this book finished and get it in the hands of readers. And I don't want that to take any longer than it has to. And I also feel like I have a lot of excitement for this project. I'm really inspired to work on it. So at this point, I don't plan on spending a lot of time working on the outline for NaNoWriMo, and I'm not really bothered by it. There has only been one other year when I haven't done NaNoWriMo, and I wasn't doing anything during that November. Like, I wasn't writing anything, I wasn't revising anything, I was just being lazy and kind of in a different headspace. And I really regretted not writing anything in November, but then across December, January, and February, I actually drafted Way of Spears. So at least like the regret from that encouraged me to work on something else over the winter months. But I don't feel that I'll regret not writing something new for NaNoWriMo this year, because I am so hard at work on Song of the Dryad, and I really want to pour all of my love and attention into this novel so that I can see it along to completion. So I am super excited to dive into revisions for Song of the Dryad. I am going to get started revising this as soon as possible. What I'm going to do now is go back to page 1 and just start reading through everything that I wrote. So I did do annotations on every single page, which have to do with the actual text right there on that page. But then I also made notes for myself on the inside front cover and also the inner back cover. And those notes that I made are more like overarching questions for myself and things that I need to figure out throughout the entire novel, versus things that just need to be changed on like a chapter level, like on a lower level, if that makes sense. So I definitely need to read through all of the notes that I made on the inner covers, and then after I do that, I will just start right on page 1, and I'm super excited for it. So that means that the next step is revising on Scrivener, and when I'm done with that, I will have the second draft of Song of the Dryad complete, and I believe at that point that I will want to send my book out to beta readers. So if you are interested in being a beta reader for me, please just hang tight, because once I get closer to completing the second draft, I will actually start looking for betas and probably put up like a form, like a contact form that you can fill out with some details, just so that we can figure out if you'd be a really good beta for this book. I'm super excited to just be moving forward with this project and to be moving into the next round of edits and just moving forward. Like, it's so easy to just get stuck sometimes, but once you have your book in your hands, it feels real, which is one of the reasons I like to order a proof copy, because seeing 100,000 words on a screen is different than holding 100,000 words in your hands and being able to hand this to somebody and say, look at what I did. And personally, once I get to this point, I just have so much excitement moving forward. I have mentioned in other videos and across social media that revision and editing is my favorite part of the process, because I kind of picture creating a book like putting a skeleton together, like putting somebody together. And first, you have to get all the bones on correctly. And there are so many bones that it's easy to get them mixed up. And the bones, the backbone, is like the backbone of the story. That's how I picture it. But then once you have that skeleton put together, you can start putting layers of muscle and fat and tissue and skin, and then dressing up this thing that you've created. And for me, it's in the editing and revision stages that my novel just comes to life, because suddenly I have the plot figured out, I have the structure figured out, and I can start exploring with detail and imagery and all of these like magical aspects of storytelling. And that is what I am most excited for. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. You guys did vote on Twitter that you wanted to see an annotating/editing vlog today, but I actually finished up annotations sooner than I thought I would, which is why we're doing our tea time chat today instead. I'm so excited to be done with annotations for Song of the Dryad, and now I get to return to Scrivener and start actually inputting all the changes that I made. So please let me know if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, and you can leave them in the comment bar down below. Remember, you can always contact me through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can also contact me via my website, and that will come directly to my email. So if you want to chat about anything, if you have any questions about annotating or how I do my annotations, feel free to reach out to me, because I love getting questions and I love helping you guys out on your writing journeys. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!